Pennsylvania. You know it for cheesesteaks, coal country, the Liberty Bell, and traffic on the Schuylkill. What most people don't know is that it's also one of the best rock-hounding states in the country, with over 430 documented mineral species, a geology shaped by the ancient Appalachian Mountains, and locations that produce everything from gem-grade green serpentine to amethyst, garnet, and even gold. Here are 13 hidden gemstone spots in Pennsylvania you didn't know about. Spot 13, McAdoo and the Echo, Schuylkill County. Let's start in coal country, which sounds like the last place you'd expect to find crystals. McAdoo is a small borough in Schuylkill County, surrounded by old mines and the kind of worked-over landscape that usually signals geological exhaustion. In this case, it signals the opposite. McAdoo sits in a region where quartz crystals occur in exceptional abundance, and the surrounding mine dumps and rock outcroppings have been producing clear quartz, smoky quartz, and small concentrations of amethyst for decades. The quartz here is genuinely impressive. Well-terminated crystals with good clarity that collectors drive hours to find. A lot of it is relatively shallow, meaning you don't need heavy equipment or industrial access to find good specimens. Some surface-level quartz can be found with just your hands and eyes. The most famous spot in the area is called the Echo, an abandoned quarry that experienced rock hounds have used for years. It reportedly produces excellent quartz crystal clusters with sharp, well-formed points. The Echo is not an official collecting site. It involves some climbing, the terrain is rough, and no signs welcome you in. Anyone visiting should approach it with appropriate gear, solid local knowledge, and realistic expectations about what abandoned quarry means in terms of physical safety. The Pennsylvania Rockhounds Facebook group is the best place to get current directions and access information as it changes. McAdoo is recommended as a beginner-friendly entry point to Pennsylvania rockhounding precisely because the quartz is so abundant. Even a first-timer walking the area carefully and patiently is likely to go home with something worth keeping. The geology behind the McAdoo quartz deposits is the same Appalachian mineralization responsible for most of Pennsylvania's gem activity. Quartz crystallizes in veins and pockets within the surrounding rock, primarily slate and anthracite coal measures, when silica-rich hydrothermal fluids cool and deposit their mineral load. The coal country of Schuylkill County sounds geologically uninteresting for gem hunting, but the veins that thread through the coal measures produce some of the better quartz specimens in the eastern United States. Rockhounding there is also a way of engaging with a landscape that has been dramatically altered by 2 centuries of coal mining. The dumps and abandoned workings that make places like the Echo accessible are themselves artifacts of that industry, and the quartz being collected was bypassed by miners who had no use for pretty crystals. Spot 12, Brandywine Creek, Chester and Delaware counties. Brandywine Creek drains through one of the most mineralogically interesting stretches of Pennsylvania, running through Chester County and into Delaware County toward Wilmington. The region around Chadds Ford, made famous by Andrew Wyeth's paintings, also happens to be one of the best places in the state to find amethyst. Amethyst in Pennsylvania occurs in diabase, a type of intrusive igneous rock that intruded into the older Triassic-era sedimentary rock and metamorphic formations of the southeast. As the diabase cooled, mineral-rich fluids created cavities called vugs, and in some of those vugs, purple quartz, amethyst, crystallized. The creek gravels along Brandywine Creek have been washing out amethyst specimens for generations, and the gravel bars at low water are the primary target. The best time to search is summer and early fall, when the creek runs lower and more gravel is exposed. You're looking for purple-tinged stones in the creek gravel. They tend to be small, typically under an inch, but well-formed and genuinely gem quality. Digging into the gravel along the creek banks can produce better specimens than surface picking. The Chester County area generally has higher concentrations, while the Delaware County stretches are more accessible from the Philadelphia suburbs. No permit or fee is required for casual collecting in creek gravel on public land. Private land, as always, requires permission. Spot 11, Wissahickon Valley, Philadelphia. This one surprises people every time. You're in a city of 1.5 million people, walking one of Philadelphia's most popular urban park trails, and the rocks in the creek bed contain garnets and kyanite that have been documented by mineralogists since the early 1800s. Wissahickon Valley Park follows Wissahickon Creek through a 1,800-acre gorge in northwestern Philadelphia. The bedrock is Wissahickon schist, a metamorphic rock named for this very location and found in a band that runs from Philadelphia southwest through Delaware and Chester counties. Buildings across Philadelphia were built from it for centuries. The schist contains almandine garnets, dark red-violet dodecahedral crystals embedded in silvery mica, as well as kyanite, staurolite, and occasional tourmaline, all index minerals of the metamorphic conditions under which the rock formed. Collectors have been picking garnets from the Wissahickon schist since at least 1811. Specimens collected during that era are in museum collections today. The garnets are typically small, half an inch to an inch across, and the crystals popping out of the mica schist matrix are what make them collectible as mineral specimens rather than faceable gems. Kyanite appears as flat blue blades in the schist and in loose form in the creek sediment. The trail north of the Valley Green Inn is the most accessible entry point. The creek bank exposes schist outcroppings along most of the trail length. Philadelphia parks are generally not collecting sites in the formal sense. This is more of a naturalist observation activity, and visitors should be respectful of park regulations and the resource. But the geology here is extraordinary, and the knowledge that the stones in a Philadelphia Park creek contain documented mineral specimens is its own reward. The Wissahickon schist has been a formally studied geological formation since at least the 19th century. Its age is dated to the Ediacaran to Cambrian period, somewhere between 540 and 600 million years old. The metamorphism that created the garnet, kyanite, and staurolite in the rock occurred at depths of roughly 20 to 25 kilometers below the surface of an ancient mountain range. The crust at that depth would have been under extraordinary pressure and temperature. The fact that rocks formed under those conditions now sit exposed at creek level in a Philadelphia park, accessible to anyone with a pair of boots, is a useful reminder of how dramatically the landscape changes over geologic time. The Wissahickon Gorge itself exists because the creek is still cutting down through rock that was once buried deep inside a mountain range that no longer exists. Spot 10. French Creek Mines, St. Peters, Chester County. St. Peters is a small village in Chester County, and French Creek Mines, also called the French Creek Iron Mines, is one of the most historically and mineralogically significant locations in southeastern Pennsylvania. The mines operated as iron producers for over 2 centuries, and the ore bodies they worked left behind a mineral suite that rockhounds still pursue today. The minerals associated with the French Creek iron deposits include amethyst, magnetite, epidote, andradite garnet, pyrite, and calcite. The amethyst from this site occurs in vugs within the iron ore and the surrounding diabase, the same geological setting responsible for the amethyst found along Brandywine Creek. French Creek amethyst is typically medium purple, well-terminated, and small, consistent with Pennsylvania amethyst generally. Access to French Creek mines has historically varied significantly. It's not a public park or a fee dig site. The Pennsylvania Mineralogical Society and local rock and mineral clubs have organized field trips there over the years. And club-organized access is often the most reliable way to visit legally. Anyone interested in collecting there should reach out to a local mineral club first. The Chester County region overall has 66 identified mines according to federal mineral records, many of which produce gem-quality specimens as secondary minerals alongside their primary iron and chromium ore. Spot 9. The State Line Chrome Pits, Lancaster County. This is the most unusual entry on this list, and probably the least known outside of serious mineral collectors. Along the Pennsylvania-Maryland state line in southern Lancaster County, near Fulton Township, sit the remains of historic chromite mining operations that produced one of the most distinctive gem-quality minerals found anywhere in the eastern United States. Williamsite is a translucent apple green variety of antigorite serpentine that gets its color from chromium. It's used as a lapidary stone, cut into cabochons, carved, and sometimes used as a jade substitute. The mineral was first described scientifically in 1848 by American mineralogist Charles Upham Shepard, who named it for its discoverer, Lewis White Williams, a geologist from Westchester, Chester County. The type locality, the site from which Williamsite was first scientifically characterized, is the State Line Chrome Mine in Lancaster County. The line pit at Fulton Township is specifically renowned for producing the finest quality Williamsite on record. Specimens from this site have been described as among the finest in the world. Deeply translucent, intensely green, with characteristic dark chromite inclusions scattered through the stone. Museum-quality material has been collected here since the 19th century, and pieces from the line pit appear in mineral collections globally. Public access to the line pit site is not guaranteed and has been restricted at various times. This is a destination best approached through organized mineral club field trips or by researching current access status carefully before visiting. What makes it worth knowing about is that the combination of gem-grade serpentine alongside historical chromite mining is essentially unique to this corner of Pennsylvania and immediately adjacent Maryland. It doesn't exist anywhere else in quite the same way. The State Line Chrome Mine itself operated as one of the most productive chromite mines in the eastern United States during the 19th century. The broader State Line Chromite Mining District, straddling the Pennsylvania-Maryland border across Lancaster County and Cecil County, Maryland, produced between 250,000 and 280,000 tons of chromite ore before 1900, according to U.S. Geological Survey records. The ore bodies ran through serpentinite, the broader family of rock that includes Williamsite, and the chromite mining inadvertently exposed and preserved some of the finest gem-quality serpentine specimens anywhere. One of the characteristic features of Williamsite from this district is the dark octahedral microcrystals of chromite scattered through the translucent green stone, making each piece visually distinctive and geologically informative at the same time. Spot 8. Prospect Park, Delaware County. About 15 miles southwest of Philadelphia, near the Morton Homestead along Route 420 in Delaware County, is a collecting location that has been a Pennsylvania rock hounding fixture for decades. Prospect Park. The site is known primarily for kyanite, flat, blue blades of aluminum silicate that form in metamorphic rock under high pressure. The kyanite here occurs in quartzite outcroppings and in the stream bed and mud of the small creek feeding Darby Creek adjacent to the site. The technique most collectors use involves a trowel, a small sieve, and patient work through the stream mud. Careful breaking of quartzite boulders lining the stream with a sledgehammer exposes the best material. Orthoclase feldspar crystals, large, blocky, and pale, can also be found in the streamside boulders. Kyanite is an interesting mineral in its own right. Its hardness varies significantly depending on direction. You can scratch it easily parallel to its length with a steel knife, but scratching it perpendicular to the long axis is much harder. This directional hardness is one of its defining characteristics and makes it unusual among minerals that are otherwise consistent in hardness regardless of direction. Gem-quality kyanite is cut for blue gemstones, though the material from Prospect Park is typically in mineral specimen form rather than face-table quality. This site has been visited extensively over many years and, like most Pennsylvania collecting locations, the easily accessible surface material has diminished significantly. Persistence and the right tools make the difference. Spot 7, Meckley's Quarry, Mandata, Northumberland County. If you're looking for celestine, Pennsylvania has a state mineral to offer you, and Northumberland County is where to find it in its finest form. Celestine, also spelled celestite, is a strontium sulfate mineral that forms as pale blue to colorless crystals with a vitreous luster. Pennsylvania designated it as the state mineral in 1974. The first recorded discovery of celestine in Pennsylvania was in Blair County, but Meckley's Quarry in Mandata, Northumberland County, is documented as undoubtedly the best location in Pennsylvania for celestine by longtime Pennsylvania mineral collectors. Museum-quality crystal specimens have come from this site. Meckley's is a working quarry. Access for rock collectors has historically been available to clubs and organized groups by appointment only. You don't call ahead and assume you can walk in. You contact the quarry, identify yourself as part of a mineral collecting group, and arrange a visit. This is standard operating procedure for most Pennsylvania quarry collecting, and the reward for the extra step is access to some of the finest mineral specimens the state produces. Celestine crystals from this site occur in sedimentary rock cavities. The pale blue color is the most distinctive and valuable, and the crystals can be well-formed and sizable. Northumberland County is not a location most rockhounds think of first when planning a Pennsylvania mineral trip, which is exactly what makes this spot worth knowing. Celestine's scientific name is sometimes spelled celestite, and both are acceptable in geological literature. Strontium, the element at the core of celestine's chemistry, was itself named after Strontian, a village in Scotland where strontianite, a related mineral, was first identified in 1790. The connection matters because strontium compounds produce the brilliant red color in fireworks and emergency flares. Celestine is the most commercially significant natural source of strontium, and Pennsylvania's designation of it as the state mineral reflects a genuine geological contribution, not just a decorative choice. The Blair County occurrence, where it was first discovered in Pennsylvania, remains historically significant, while Meckley's Quarry in Northumberland County elevated it to a world-class collecting locality for crystal specimens. Spot 6, Valley Quarry, Gettysburg, Adams County. Gettysburg is famous for one very specific period of American history, but geology doesn't care much about the Civil War, and beneath the battlefield terrain of Adams County sits a geological formation that has been producing a genuinely interesting suite of minerals for decades. Valley Quarry, located along Route 97, about half a mile west of Route 15, is operated by a private company and open for mineral collecting by groups and clubs by appointment only. The contact number listed by Pennsylvania mineral collectors is 717-334-3165, and the quarry superintendent handles those arrangements. A companion site, Valley Quarry Fairfield, located about 10 miles south of Gettysburg along Route 116, operates under similar conditions and produces a similar mineral suite. What makes these quarries interesting is the combination of copper minerals and zeolites. Bornite, chalcocite, chrysocolla, and a trace of native copper have all been found at the Gettysburg site. Epidote, andradite garnet, and several zeolite minerals, chabazite, stilbite, and heulandite complete the list. Zeolites are cage-like silicate minerals that form in low-temperature volcanic and sedimentary environments and have been increasingly recognized by collectors for the quality of their crystal forms. Garnet at Gettysburg comes as andradite, the calcium iron variety, which is distinct from the almandine garnet of the Wissahickon and appears in different colors including green, yellow, and brownish red. Spot 5. Rossville Road Cut, York County. York County doesn't make many rock-hounding lists. It probably should. The Rossville Road Cut, located about 1 mile north of Rossville on Route 74, roughly 15 miles north of the city of York, was discovered in 1974 during a road expansion project. What the road builders exposed and what collectors have been working ever since is a cut-through hornfels that contains azurite and malachite coatings, along with an unusual guest, opal hyalite. Azurite and malachite are both copper-bearing minerals. Azurite is vivid blue, malachite is vivid green. Both form in the oxidized zones above copper deposits, and both are collected as gemstones and mineral specimens. The coatings on the hornfels at Rossville are not massive deposits. You need a hammer and patience to reach material that hasn't been stripped by previous collectors. But the combination of 2 copper minerals plus the rarity of opal hyalite makes this a genuinely unusual site. Opal hyalite is a transparent, water-clear variety of opal that fluoresces a brilliant green under short-wave UV light. Under regular daylight, it's nearly invisible on the rock surface. It looks like a glassy coating and blends with the surrounding stone. Under a UV lamp at night, it glows dramatically. This is one of those minerals that rewards carrying a UV light into the field, because you'd walk past most of it without knowing it's there. At the southern end of the same road cut, micro-sized crystals of heulandite, stilbite, and chabazite, zeolite minerals, add additional variety. And then there's the gold. York County has been producing gold since 1975, when prospectors rediscovered placer gold in streams throughout the area. Streams near Dillsburg, Wellsville, Rossville, and Grantham, as well as the Delta area near the Susquehanna River, have all produced placer gold. This is not mother lode territory, but the gold is real, documented, and findable with a pan. The geology responsible for York County's minerals and gold is the Piedmont Province, the same band of Appalachian rock that runs through Chester and Delaware counties and produces the amethyst, garnet, and serpentine of southeastern Pennsylvania. York County sits at the western edge of that belt, which is why its mineral suite is less concentrated than Chester counties, but still productive. The road cut geology at Rossville specifically reflects a contact zone between different rock types. Hornfels is a fine-grained metamorphic rock that forms when igneous intrusions bake the surrounding rock at high temperature. The copper minerals, zeolites, and opal hyalite all occur in and around that contact zone, which is a classic setting for diverse secondary mineralization. Spot 4. Crum Creek, Delaware County. Crum Creek runs through Delaware County southwest of Philadelphia and is one of the most accessible gemstone collecting locations in the greater Philadelphia area. The creek and its tributaries drain through the same Piedmont geology responsible for the mineral deposits throughout southeastern Pennsylvania, and amethyst, garnet, and quartz are all documented finds in the stream gravel. The best time to visit is summer, when lower water levels expose more gravel bars. Local stores in the area have historically offered pans and screens for gem hunting, making this more accessible to newcomers than sites that require bringing specialized equipment. Creek-level gravel bars at bends and below obstacles are the primary targets. The same physical logic that concentrates placer gold concentrates every heavy mineral in the stream, including garnet, and any stray amethyst crystals that have eroded from the diabase and schist of the watershed. Delaware County is one of the more urban counties in the state, which makes finding a rural stream with exposed gravel feel oddly surprising. Crum Creek provides exactly that. A collecting location close enough to Philadelphia that you can combine it with other activities in the area and still get a couple of productive hours of searching in. Spot 3. Crystal Cave, Kutztown, Berks County. Crystal Cave is Pennsylvania's oldest show cave, discovered on November 12, 1871, when William Merkel and John Garrett were blasting for limestone on a farm near Kutztown in Berks County. The blast opened a hole large enough to walk through. Locals with candles and oil lanterns went in the next day and found a cave that sparkled in their light, hence the name. The cave has been open to the public ever since, operating continuously for over 150 years and drawing millions of visitors. The cave descends 125 feet below the surface and runs about 500 feet in length. The formations, stalactites, stalagmites, flowstone, and the soda straw stalactites are made primarily of calcite and aragonite crystals, which cover large portions of the cave walls. The temperature inside is a constant 54 degrees year-round, typical of limestone cave systems of this depth in Pennsylvania. What makes Crystal Cave relevant to gemstone hunters specifically is the gem sluice operation on the property. Visitors purchase bags of mineral-bearing material and pan through a sluice to find the gems. The sluice isn't digging up Pennsylvania wild material. The bags are prepared with a variety of minerals. But for a family introduction to how gem mining works and what real mineral specimens look like in hand, it's one of the most accessible options in the state. The cave sits on 150 acres of property in the heart of Pennsylvania Dutch country, 5 miles west of Kutztown and accessible year-round. It's not a secret spot for experienced rockhounds, but as an entry point to understanding Pennsylvania's geology and getting your hands on real mineral specimens, it's hard to beat. Spot 2. Phoenixville area, Chester County. Chester County's Phoenixville area is the most significant single locality in Pennsylvania for amethyst. The town sits within the core of the region, where Triassic-era diabase intrusions cut through older Proterozoic and Paleozoic rock, and those intrusions created the vug environments where amethyst crystallized. The Cornwall-type iron ore deposits of southeastern Pennsylvania, the same type of deposits that made the iron industry of the region possible for 3 centuries, are associated with some of the most productive amethyst-bearing zones in the area. Amethyst crystals from the Phoenixville district are typically small, medium purple, and well-formed. They are not spectacular by international standards, but they are genuine, locally produced gemstones in a setting with deep historical mining context. The French Creek mines at St. Peter's are part of this same geological district, as are various other iron mines across Chester County. The Phoenixville area specifically is worth knowing about, because occasional road cuts and construction exposures in the area have turned up amethyst-bearing vugs, which means that development in this part of Chester County has a documented history of accidentally uncovering gem pockets that were completely unknown before the shovel hit them. This isn't a place where you simply show up and start digging. The productive sites are either private property, closed mines, or locations that require club access. But for anyone researching Pennsylvania's geological hotspots, Chester County and the Phoenixville district are the center of the map. Spot 1. York and Lancaster County streams. Gold country. Save the most unexpected for last. Gold in Pennsylvania. Since 1975, placer gold has been documented in stream systems across southern York County and southern Lancaster County, with confirmed finds in creeks near Dillsburg, Wellsville, Rossville, and Grantham in York County, and in Peters Creek, west of Quarryville and streams around Peach Bottom and Muddy Run Park in Lancaster County. The Delta area of York County, bounded by Muddy Run to the north, Constitution to the west, and the Susquehanna River to the east, has produced consistent results. The gold doesn't come from kimberlite or any diamond-related geology. This is placer gold, originally derived from low-grade gold deposits in the metamorphic rocks of the Piedmont province, eroded out over millions of years and concentrated in stream gravels by the same process that operates everywhere placer gold is found. The flakes and grains are small. Nobody is getting rich panning Pennsylvania creeks, but the gold is real, documented by mineral collectors and the Pennsylvania Geological Survey, and findable with a gold pan and patience. The Constitution site at the Maryland line, along Route 851, adds an additional twist. Rutile crystals, garnet, kyanite, and magnetite have all been panned from streams in the same area alongside the gold. The combination of gem minerals and precious metal in the same stream system, in a state most people don't associate with either, is what makes this corner of Pennsylvania worth putting on a rock hounding map. Gold has been rediscovered in many of the streams in southeastern Pennsylvania, notes PennMinerals.com, the most comprehensive public database of Pennsylvania mineral localities. The key word is rediscovered. This wasn't a surprise find. It was a return to something that was known and then forgotten, which is a pretty good summary of Pennsylvania rock hounding generally. 13 spots, most of them accessible to anyone willing to do a little research, join a local mineral club, and show up with the right tools and realistic expectations. Pennsylvania is not the American West. You're not stumbling across gemstone veins in open desert. You're working creek gravels, quarry dumps, and schist outcroppings in a state that rewards patience and preparation more than luck. The Pennsylvania Mineralogical Society and the Delaware Valley Mineralogical Society are two of the best starting points for anyone who wants guided access to many of the locations on this list, particularly the quarries that require club credentials. Both organizations run regular field trips to sites that are otherwise inaccessible to the general public. Pennsylvania has 86 formally mapped rock hounding sites, over 430 documented mineral species, and a geological history stretching back hundreds of millions of years. That's a lot of ground left to cover. If this got you curious about what's in the ground under your feet in Pennsylvania, or if you've actually been to one of these spots, hit the like button and subscribe. More coming.